Welcome to the Social Ninjas podcast. I am your co-host Kyle. Join with me as always, that other guy, Jeremy. What is up?
Hey Kyle. Hey Kyle. Hey Kyle. Hey Kyle.
I like it.
I'm just getting in the flow right now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Your flow state. Okay. And we also have a very special guest with us today, Dashama. What is going on?
Hey, how's it going? Aloha. I'm in Hawaii. I'm just finishing my new book and excited to talk with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Can you give us a little background on yourself and kind of what you're doing?
Sure. I mean, I've been doing a lot of things my whole life, but for the most part, I'm known as a happiness expert. So I actually got inducted into the Happiness Hall of Fame last year in Stanford University, and I've spoken at the United Nations for International Day of Happiness. I wrote a book called Journey to Joyful. And so I've been traveling around the world for the past 10 to 15 years, just spreading happiness. And one of the main methods I've been doing that is through yoga and meditation and this like healthy lifestyle path. So right now I've been back in Hawaii. I'm working on my next book, which is called The Flow State. And I'm really excited. In the last 3 months of being here in Hawaii, I got almost all the way done with the book. I have 300 or more pages already written. And so I'm just finishing it up this month. That was a really huge accomplishment. Like in 3 months, I just like every day committed to writing 2,000 words. And I got 80,000 words already in 3 months.
So you're basically in the flow, right? Writing the flow.
Yeah, I think that's why the universe sent me back here. It was an interesting thing because I didn't know why I'm getting guided to come back to this place. I was living in LA actually, but then everything kind of shifted and then I just got back here and things were flowing. So I was like, all right, let me just go where it's flowing. And then the book flowed out of me and like, okay, all right, we're going with this. I'm learning all the time to trust more in the flow of the universe.
So can you tell us more about the book and more about flow state?
Yeah, I mean, have you heard of flow state? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
I feel like everybody who's into optimal life experience understands flow state. But it's like what I came to realize, because I've pretty much dedicated the last 15 plus years to teaching this, and I never really called it flow state because I was teaching flow yoga. Like I would teach, vinyasa flow yoga and kundalini and then breath work and meditation and cleansing practices and all these different things. But the intention was always the same. It was always to get into this feeling which is like complete clarity, like openness, balance and harmony, feeling at one with the universe, feeling like life is flowing and that, like what I want and need comes easily. So that was always the intention, but I never necessarily called it that I'm getting people into the flow state until around 5 years ago. And I had a lot of experiences happen where I was working with a young man that had autism, and it was interesting because I was teaching him mantras and different practices, and we were meditating and doing different shamanic work as well. And it was amazing because I learned so much from working with him, just in terms of the mind and how pivotal it is for our life experience. And so anyway, at the end of the journey of working with him, I ended up getting invited to go over to England to work with this university called Warwick University. They're like one of the top business schools in the world. And I have worked with Harvard in the past. One of my friends, Dr. Satbir Khalsa, he's been doing 20 years of yoga research at Harvard to show how breathwork and mantras and kriyas and meditation help people to transform their brain and awaken like gray matter in the brain, rewire neural synapses, and literally just like completely transform and heal your mind. And that would heal like insomnia, depression, anxiety, and all of these things. And so anyway, I've worked with him in the past. So I brought him over to England as well. And we did like a week together talking about how, what kind of research, what kind of qualitative research could we do that would help people in like specifically in the corporate setting to access more flow, to get into flow state so they could have greater creativity, productivity, improve their well-being so they have less sick days, and just overall satisfaction of life. And then obviously that would result in higher profitability for the company. So it's like win-win for everybody if people are in flow, right? And so I started, that was about 4 years ago. I went over to England for that, and it really kickstarted my understanding of, okay, this is what I'm really doing. Like all these years I was always calling it yoga, which is, there's a word for that, but then it's like so much more than that. It's like literally anybody can access flow, and it's not just for athletes or singers or celebrities. It's literally for everybody, and that everybody can access this, and to be able to access flow state,
That was my next question.
it's literally the most important thing, you know what I mean? Because if you're in flow, everything else is good, because it means your health is good. It means your life is going good, like flow brings the goodness. And when you're out of flow, you're getting a lot of resistance, a lot of blocks to flow, right? So then that's when you have to do some work to clear.
If I come to you and I'm like, Dashama, I'm having a lot of anxiety, I'm having a lot of depression, help me. What would you say to me?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, like, why are you having anxiety and depression? Like, one of the things, for example, that you have to understand about those two things specifically, anxiety and depression. First of all, I think almost everybody has experienced those two things. And they are both mental and emotional, right? The mind triggers the emotion. But where is it coming from? So depression is coming from dwelling on the past and perhaps wishing that it could have been different. A lot of times that's where we get depressed, is that we're dwelling on the past. We wish things could be different, or we're not present in our moment, in this right now moment, and we're not grateful for what we actually have right now. So we're just like wishing things could be different. And there's a cognitive dissonance between what we wish or imagine that our life should be, and then what it actually is. And it's that cognitive dissonance between what is and what we want it to be that creates anxiety and depression, because it's like, it's not what we want, but we're stuck in it because we're here and this is our life. So instead, there's a huge shift in just, like really being grateful and appreciating where you are and what you do have. And that's one of the huge, in the book, that's a whole chapter, the universal law of gratitude, like literally being grateful for what you have. First of all, can help to cure anxiety and depression. It's not the only cure, but it's a big step in the process, but also helps you to attract what you do want, like the other things. So it's like, as you get clear and grounded and grateful for what you have right now, even if it's something very small and simple, like air to breathe, I have my body, I have a home to live, the simple things, and then feeling the gratitude for that. And then you can attract them more, because maybe you want a bigger house, but like that bigger house is not going to make you happy. It's just going to, once you get there, you're going to want something more. So that's the kind of function of the mind that's a little bit, difficult. That's why humans do suffer so much from anxiety and depression, because we want more all the time. And it's this constant, never-ending desire for more, which can be good in a small way because it pushes us to expand and grow. And that that's that ambition element. But then it brings us out of our contentment and satisfaction of what we do have. So there's a fine balance between striving for more, but being grateful for what we do have in this moment. So there's lots of ways to work with anxiety and depression, but I always say that would be the starting point. And then, I think a big part of it too can be, doing breath work. Breath work is really powerful because, just deep breathing into your heart is a really interesting way to shift energy, brings you into the present moment. Also, like your nutrition, your diet, cleansing is super powerful. I did a cleanse this summer, and I was just amazed to find out I had like parasites living inside of me. And I got them out, and I'm so happy and grateful. But most people don't realize what's going on inside of them, and they're just like irritable or angry, or they get frustrated or stressed out very easily, and they have all that angst inside of you, and you might not realize that it might not even be your angst. It might be a parasite like parasites have a consciousness, and they're like an alien, and they'll live in your gut, and then they actually control your mind, and then you become sad or angry or depressed. Sometimes it's not even your consciousness, it's actually a parasite consciousness, and you get it out, and then that kind of heals it. So that's one element. Another thing is trauma. Like some people maybe had trauma in the life, like either as a child or was in a big accident. Like I've been in a lot of car accidents, and I also had a really hard childhood. I had a lot of things happen. So I had a lot of trauma. So like sometimes these like depression and anxiety is linked to a subconscious memory or pattern or a program that's running that we need to clear that. And there are practices to clear that, but it's a little process, it's like therapy, you gotta like go into your mind, you gotta be vulnerable and honest with yourself about what you're really feeling and experiencing, then clear that, and then like to release that and truly forgive the past, or to really forgive whatever happened, and it just liberates you on such a deep level. So then you can rise out of that with greater joy and greater flow, because anything that's a low vibration energy like that, like trauma, sadness, anger, resentment, shame, any kind of those lower emotions, anger, this is bringing your vibe down, and that's not where flow state is at. Flow state is a very high vibration. So you have to like keep working on clearing the vibration to get into the higher vibration.
Could I argue that anger sometimes plays a role as far as setting boundaries?
Well, I feel like all emotions are valid. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have anger, it's fine. You sit with it. You acknowledge it. You look to the root of it. And as long as it's helping you grow, it's fine. It's just when it hurts people around you, that's the problem. Some people, their anger hurts people. But if you just, if an anger arises and that feeling is a strong enough feeling that it gets you to set a boundary that now changes your life in a positive way, and not at the expense of the other person's life, for example, but that there's now a new understanding based on the communication that comes from that anger, then I would say that could be a positive thing. But if you're just like yelling at people, angry, mean, there's no room for that. So there's different forms of how it's expressed. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand. I was wondering if I could take a step back, and I'm curious the journey of getting into the Happiness Hall of Fame.
I know, it's so cool. Well, I'll tell you, I think part of what made that happen was a few things, but one of the big ones was that I actually suffered a lot in my life, so a lot of people think like, oh, some people when they see me, they think, oh, she must be just this happy-go-lucky girl, because I actually, can come across very like bubbly and stuff. But I had a lot of suffering in my life. When I was a young person, my mother lost her mind when I was 6, and I ended up in foster care, and I have 3 sisters, and we were all split up, and it was like a really, really hard experience, like as an early child. And then from there, because I had so much trauma, that I attracted like also like kind of bad experiences. Like I would get in with like the bad boys, and they would like do mean things, and I would just allow that because something in me felt like that was what I deserved or something. Like I remember this one guy, he used to burn my leg. He was my friend, and he used to burn my leg with a lighter. Like,
Wow.
Just like things like that. And I look back and I was like, I can't believe I would hang out with those guys, and I thought they were my friend. But like anyway, I had a really strange childhood, like a lot of good things as well, in terms of I was always a really good student, and I was an athlete. I was an overachiever, like, 4.0 all the time, everything, all A's, everything, athlete. I was in every sport. I would get up at 6 a.m. and go running. But there was always like some kind of weird stuff happening that was teaching me lots of lessons. But it was like I had battle with depression, with specifically also eating disorders, like body dysmorphia, a lot of these things, because when you have a lot of trauma, you start to project it into your reality. So then you like kind of create these disorders, and that's how you try to cope with life, right? So I would go through all of that. And then I went through a whole journey. When I was 18 years old, I got hit by a car when I was riding my bicycle, and it was going 45 miles per hour, and the car T-boned my bicycle, and I went flying across the highway.
Wow.
And I basically, I think I died because I remember I saw myself from above, and I was on the concrete. It was raining, and it was the day before my birthday, and they were cutting my clothes off of me so I could get the neck brace, going to this on the stretcher in the ambulance to the ER. Anyway, so that was like an interesting turning point of my life, because it was kind of like there was a lot of red flags leading up to that. Many, like that year before that was like the worst year of my life. Like I had the worst experiences. I lost my virginity to rape by a guy that was dating my friend at a party. You know, like I had a thyroid disease. They removed my thyroid, so I gained like 20 pounds because I had no thyroid. And then I got the medicine and I got back on track, but I got really depressed. I got arrested at school on my senior year of high school for drinking, and I got suspended from school for a week. And then I was in this huge car accident. So it was like an escalation towards like the worst case scenario you could ever imagine in life, you know? And it was like, wow. And after that, like my life really changed, because I started to see like this was a wake up call, you know, like thought I was doing well, but it's like life will always show you if you're doing well or not by what's showing up in your reality. So I was having a lot of horrible things showing up. So I was like, okay, like I need to get healed. You know, obviously I have some issues. And so I did, you know, I started college. I did really well in school. And yeah, it's just like interesting things happened after that. I did start healing myself. Like I lost all the weight. I got in great shape again. I was running. I became a bikini model. And I had a really great job, and I had a great boyfriend, and we owned a home on a golf course, and I had like the perfect life. And then it's like I fell into a deep depression for like 1 year, and I just could not get out of this funk. Like nothing could make me happy. I had everything, and nothing could make me happy, and I couldn't understand what was missing, you know? And it was interesting, and I guess at the point I didn't realize I was going through a deep spiritual awakening. And so I started reading like Deepak Chopra and like all these spiritual books, and the Bhagavad Gita, and I was doing yoga at the time more. And then I was Googling one day looking for inner peace. I Googled inner peace, and I ended up finding a yoga place called Yoga and Inner Peace. And I was like, that's what I need. I need some inner peace, you know? And I just went to this yoga place, and I signed up for the teacher training, and I decided to see if it could help, you know? And because yoga was the one thing that had always really kind of helped me through when I was having a lot of challenges. And anyway, so I had to get up at 4:45 every day, drive an hour each way to go meditate in this dark place. And there was like cockroaches. It was not a nice yoga center. It was like kind of a low end kind of place, but I don't know, I just found this place. And long story short, this program changed my life. Like we were chanting every day, and I had no idea I didn't know about chanting that much before that, but it was part of the program. We had to chant these Sanskrit mantras, and I'm like, Jai Ganesha. And in the beginning I was asking the teacher, I was like, what does this mean? And he's like, don't worry about the meaning, just focus on the feeling. And I was like, okay, fine. So I just surrendered to that, and it started to change my life, and I started to feel better in this chanting and the meditation. I was always really terrible at meditating. I could never sit still. And we had to meditate every day. And finally, I actually I started to love meditation. And this was a 10-week program. And literally, I remember one day, it was a life-changing day. I went to the beach, and it was during this 10-week program. And I was in such a meditative state. And I went to the ocean, and it was like a overcast day. So the ocean was white, and the sky was kind of white. And so it just looked like white out, right? And I'm walking in a white cloud on the beach. And I just heard this song that we've been listening to every morning at 4 a.m. And it's called Devi Mantra, Devi Prayer. It's 108 names of the divine goddess. And it's just so peaceful. And then all of a sudden I just heard the sound of Om. And I feel like it lasted for like 4 hours. Like it was my first true transcendental experience where I transcended my mind, where I was in my physical body, and just expanding into this field of oneness. And it was the first real, I think, connection to pure bliss, like consciousness that was not dependent on anything outside of me. And it was just the most beautiful experience. So after that, I just dedicated my life to doing what I do. But I think it's just been a journey. Like my first book was called Journey to Joyful. And I think that's part of how I ended up getting the Happiness Hall of Fame. It's like, it's a journey, and it's a daily commitment and practice to like choose happiness and to choose the positive, the cup half full, to be willing and strong enough, like you talked about a minute ago, with boundaries, and to be able to like walk away from people if they're not in alignment, and be committed to continuously leveling up in every way. So I've been doing that, and I've been sharing that for over 15 years. And then it's so funny, like actually just this week I made a video. Do you remember there was like a thing called free hugs? This was a big kind of trend about 10 years ago on YouTube.
Never heard of
it.
I've done free hugs like around the world, or I did it like different parts of the United States, and I did it in Asia as well. I was late to the party.
Did you make a video? Did you make a video?
I did make a video.
So I made a video.
Okay, I have like a bunch of footage. I want to edit. Now you're making me want to edit it now.
Edit it, because this is what happened. I made the video. I was in Santa Monica, and my
I did it.
Oh yeah, and I went. This was about 8 years ago though, and I went around Santa Monica doing the free hugs, and I made a video. And when I put it on my YouTube channel at the time, it reached around 500,000 views, which I thought was pretty good. But then this week, randomly, it started going viral, and it reached over 2.5 million views this week, because I feel like people really are craving this energy of like hugging, like now everyone's like 6 feet apart, don't breathe on me, like everyone is so messed up. And it's like COVID has created a global neurosis around people and like connection, and it's like, don't touch me, don't breathe on me, get away from me.
Yes.
That's the opposite. And like I was actually thinking about coming to LA and doing a follow-up free hugs video, because I was like, it'd be interesting to try to do it in the COVID moment when nobody wants to fucking touch anybody, nobody's open to like being near you, they're all masks and everything. And I'm like, I think we need it now more than ever. But anyway, so my older video went viral this week, and it reached 2.5 million. And that was, it was like, actually the song that I put with it is, the song I'm Yours by Jason Mraz.
Yeah.
So I have like this really fun, like loving song, and I'm wearing like a pink shirt, and
cool.
And it was cool. You'll have to watch it on my YouTube if you want. But anyway, so I think that was a little.
You inspired me. I want to do a free hugs video now. I have a bunch. When I did actually a spread kindness project, and I went from LA, and I drove all the way up through Oregon and Seattle, and I went to Vancouver, and I did free hugs in Vancouver. And then one of the people I met in Vancouver, actually I ended up staying with him for a few days.
That's cool.
It's powerful. You probably had it where people were like crying your arms, and they're like, I really needed that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see the video. It was really cool. I mean, I hugged everybody. I hugged the dog. I hugged the police officer. There was a guy in a wheelchair. Some people lined up to get a hug. It was just a really cool experience. Some people said no to my hug. We have that in the video too. It's good to see the rejection, because it also shows like, not everybody's ready for that level of love, and connection, and people have whatever reason, but it's cool to kind of watch the progression of that video.
I'll check it out.
But anyway, so I feel like that video exemplifies like my life mission. You know what I'm saying? Because like, do you know who this woman is? Her name is Amma. She's known as the Hugging Saint.
Saint.
So I've been to her darshan twice.
No way. Thanks for invite. Just kidding. I'm teasing.
Well, I hugged it. Well, I mean, she has an ashram in California, actually. You can go. But anyway, so she's hugged 35 million people. And I always felt like, wow, she's an inspiration for me, because I feel like hugging is. It's one of the best things in life. You know, like if you get a really good hug, this is like life changing. You know what I mean? But like most people don't hug good anyway. Like we need to have hugging lessons, like how to hug. You know, because some people they just, you know, and you're just like, well, don't even bother if it's like that. You know, that's not a hug. Hug is like heart to heart. And
Heart
you
to
have
heart,
to do
30 seconds.
11 seconds at least. You know, they say 8 to 11 seconds is really the minimum. So, I mean, the longer the better. But the main thing is, you know, most people are not that good at hugging. But what I learned from that free hugs video, and more than anything, was this is a big part of my life mission. Not to hug people in the way that Alma does, but to spread love and to spread this happiness energy, which it doesn't mean I always am happy or like that my life is perfect, but I continuously choose love. You know, I always choose the positive side, even if I'm going through a hard moment. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to choose the positive side and I'm going to find my way back to that great place because I've been there and I know that's the best place.
Yeah, it reminds me of always choose love over hate. This is not like even when you're angry at someone, how would that love filter, what effect would it have on how you respond to someone, especially if you're not getting along with them? And I identify with you. I resonate with you a lot. Like being the change I want to see in the world, right?
Yeah, because right now it's so easy to get caught up in all the negative stuff. Like if you go on social media, I mean, and a lot of what we call the negative is actually very real. So it's not like just a bunch of negative stuff. It's real. Okay, yeah, we have a mass extinction happening on the planet of our endangered animal species. We have climate crisis that's literally destroying our planet. We have, you know, a lot of corruption in the government and on a very elite level. We have pedophiles. We have the worst things happening on the earth. But if we focus on that, we don't feel good. If we focus on what we can do to make a positive impact in the world, that's where, personally, for myself, is where I find my good feeling place. It's like, how can I serve? How can I show up and what my gifts that I have to offer can help the world? And that's where I'm going to put my energy, and not into spreading the news about all this other stuff or getting sort of trapped into the story of it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, how can I serve you? How can I support you? It's one of my favorite things to say.
Yeah, that's the key.
Carl, you have a question?
I'm just stuck thinking about what free hugs would look like right now. I'm just
I
curious.
was thinking that too. What do you think? You think anyone would do it?
I don't know, but it kind of makes me want to go out and do it.
I was feeling it. I was like, maybe I could fly to LA for a bit and just do it for a day. I would do it with you guys. You know what? I actually had an idea. I was like, we could get a group of people who were already in cahoots on it, and those would be the definite huggers, right? Because we already had it planned out. And then we'll have the strangers also, and the strangers will probably be the no, right? And then our group is going to be the hugging yes, but we'll all wear masks so it shows we're in COVID. But this is like shifting the paradigm to say some people are still loving other people and not living in the fear. And I felt it can shift the paradigm, because right now it's horrible, the fear. And like I said, it's become a neurosis. Like I was even on a boat the other day swimming with wild dolphins on the wild ocean in Hawaii. And we had about 12 or 15 people. And one woman wore the mask the whole time. And she was sitting in the front. She sat next to me and I had my mask, but it was to here so I could breathe. And she started like aggro on me, like, put your mask all the way on. I don't want you breathing your COVID on me. And I'm like, don't come back on this boat, lady. Like, we're here for joy and dolphins, you know? But it was just such a reminder, you know, because it's like we're in the middle of a bubble in paradise where we didn't even have 100 cases on this whole island hardly the whole time. And this lady's doing that. So I was like, okay, I can only imagine what people are doing out in the mainland where it's like thousands of cases, people actually dying and stuff. Nobody died in Hawaii of coronavirus. But anyway, so I just had this thought. I actually did have that as a thought. And I would be very open to the idea of kind of creating this video, because I was thinking I would even fly over to LA for it, because I was thinking it would be so timely, you know, because my free hugs video went viral and it was 8 years old.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm so gonna edit my video now. I have footage of me doing it in Canada and Taiwan, and I did it 10 days in a row, free hugs in LA, and I went to Hollywood and Highland, and I went to different parts of LA, and it was fantastic.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that this is what the world needs right now. We need like a huge, that's what some people on my video were commenting. They were calling it the love pandemic. And it really, I was like, that's the best. Like, that's what we need. We need to like literally catalyze a massive love pandemic.
Love demic.
Love-demic, yeah, because like right now I can't, like I don't even know what to do. I don't want to go to the mainland hardly because it doesn't seem like a good idea, and although I did hear that in LA it's kind of like life is a little bit more back to normal, I guess. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, it
Like
is.
you can go to the beach and everything's fine and
Yeah,
okay.
for the most part, it's pretty back to normal. I think I love this love demic dynamic because I did do a thing like, during the most fearful time of COVID, and I would just do I love you reps. So I'd like go up to people and I'd just try to see I love you to as many people as I could. And you can see the power and the energy. People are like, whoa, like, that's really weird, but I really needed to hear that. And it like brings the biggest smile on their face. And then some people are like, why is he saying I love you? So it's like rejection therapy meets just spreading love. So I would encourage you to do like
I never have a problem on rejection because I was in sales like at 18. So I always I have no rejection problems. But to me, I'm more of a sociologist. I observe the behavior and I'm like, okay, these people are not into hugs. They must have some inner trauma, or they had like as a child, they didn't get a lot of hugs. So they didn't have like this energy in their life, so they don't know how to do it, what to do with it, like hugging, whereas people that were kind of raised with hugging, you're like, yeah, hugging, it's the best. But if you didn't get raised with that, you're kind of like not into it. So it's an interesting observation to see people's response.
I mean, I had that when I was doing free hugs, and I'd give a hug, and I'm like, all right, you can let go. But the thing is, you let go and they let go type of dynamic. So I had someone just like hugging me, and I was just, all right. I mean, you can let go if you want. And I noticed they kept going. I was like, all right. So it was like a growing experience for me.
Oh yeah.
Just surrender.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. When I first put out my free hugs video, some of my students did their own free hugs and stuff, and it was cool because they were telling me it really healed them in a unique way, and it's a unique thing. I actually think it's like everyone should do it. It's like the most powerful, interesting thing. It'd be so interesting if we could start like we'll call it love demic, but like start like a trend of the free hugs again, because that was about 10 years where it got popular. And then there's a guy on YouTube, and he actually started a whole YouTube channel called Free Hugs Project, and he started a brand of it and everything. So he started doing this, and then he's a black guy, and he would go up to the police and he would hug them at the riots, and he's actually really interesting to me. You guys should, maybe interview him. But I just thought about that.
I reached out to him. He didn't respond.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, the point is, he, what I thought about it was kind of cool because he kind of kept the campaign going, because all trends eventually die out. But I kind of think free hugs should never die out.
I know. I was talking to some guy who did a TEDx on rejection therapy, and I told him how I was doing free hugs. He's like, that was like so 10 years ago. I'm like, what?
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why would that go out of style?
It's like saying yesterday I was really nice to people. Well, you're really nice to people. That was so 10 years ago.
Yeah, like try something.
We don't do that anymore.
Like,
we don't.
So cool. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I don't know when people think that way. It's very interesting, but there is a whole real concept around timing with trends. But I also do see that trends can come back around. Like you see, like in fashion, for example, you see the 80s fashion comes back around. All of a sudden, everything's neon. Trends always come back around. And like if they were worth anything, obviously, like the 80s, the neon and the this and that, and then the 90s, everything comes back around. I've seen it.
Free hugs is gonna make a comeback.
I think it should. I honestly want to be a part of the comeback because I feel like I already am a part of the comeback. My video went viral this week and reached 2.5 million people. So I was like, we need to get this going more. We could go viral and get lots more interest because I think that the COVID element is what makes it fascinating because people are so afraid of touching or connecting or even breathing near anyone. And we have to fix that, because we cannot continue like that for the rest of humanity. It cannot go like this for the rest of humanity. It would be such a lame like world, you know, like, oh, now the rest of humanity, we're doing masks and staying apart. No, but there's got to be something that shifts us back together, you know? And I feel like could be something like the free hugs.
I like it. So I want to get back on kind of the happiness track. So, and I want to be a little vulnerable here, because I want to ask you about something that I've personally been struggling with a little bit. And that is not making your happiness part of something that's external. Let me rephrase that maybe a little bit better, but like having external things affect your happiness. And I kind of want to hear your answer on that, and how you go about like keeping it internal and not necessarily like things that are happening externally is going to affect your happiness inside.
No, that's a good point. I feel like it's like the chicken or the egg, because I really do feel like our energy also is attracting what we experience. So if our external is not what we would ideally hope, it's usually a reflection. Like in my book, in the flow state, there's the chapter called the universal law of reflection. And the universal law of reflection is that you will get a mirror. It's kind of also like law of attraction in a way, but it's like you're going to get a mirror for you to see what you need to see about yourself. So if your external reality is doing things, right, that are making you feel unhappy, it's not about what's outside of you that's doing the thing. It's something that you needed to see inside. So it's always an inside job. So it's like literally everything outside of us is asking us to look inside, right? And if for example, everything outside of us is beautiful and all sorts of good things, then we can, generally that's why we feel happy, because we're like, it's reflecting. But like if outside of us we're getting a lot of, let's say, not good things, whatever it is, then we got to go inside and look at what is in me possibly that could be creating, attracting, or reflecting this. And it might not be a direct reflection. Like if somebody, for example, I had people in my life like be angry to me, and I'm not an angry person, so it's hard for me to process when people are angry to me. I'm like, what do I do? But or judgmental or whatever, like any of these feelings where somebody like literally like purges their violent energy towards you, and you're like, what do I do? And inside, you know, the first thought is, in the mind is like, I didn't do anything to deserve this, right? And you didn't. It's not like a matter of deserving. It's just, there's something in there to see. So for example, my mother, like I told you, she lost her mind, and she was an alcoholic, and she was addicted to drugs and everything. So she had a lot of anger. And when I have attracted somebody who have this anger, I always now see, okay, there's an unresolved element in my subconscious mind from the earliest memory of anger that I experienced was from my mother. And now I can go in there and heal around that, and I'm going to not attract it anymore on the outside, right? So it's like a little arrow pointing at what you can look at to work on in yourself, right? Another way to see it too is like, for example, one thing that gets me a little, not angry, but like irritated is like noise. You know, when you live in a neighborhood and like people have revved their engine or whatever, 6 a.m. and they're revving their engine or something, you know, you're just like, what is this? And it can get you like feeling like whatever, not happy, right? So in that moment, there's choices, right? You can either choose to be unhappy, you can choose to be frustrated, angry, or like irritated, or you can choose to maybe do something about it by maybe saying something in a kind way, like, hey, can you not do that? Or like get a muffler on your car or whatever. Or it's another opportunity to breathe inside, like to breathe through the discomfort of the environment around us. Because like, for example, they always say like the greatest personification or embodiment of a master of meditation is someone who could sit in the middle of chaos, in the middle of a war zone, in the middle of the city, in the subway of New York, wherever you are, with all sorts of chaos around, and still find that inner peace, find that happiness inside. And that's the mastery. So everything in life is teaching us how to be the master, you know, like the master of our energy, the master of our mind, the master of our life, the master of our moment. by moment experience. And so whatever's showing up is a teacher. And that's the way I like to see it. I'm always like working on it still, because, you know, I do have these moments where I'm like, man, that guy is so noisy or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. This is my teacher. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. I like the reflection and kind of reflecting in on yourself. So what would be some techniques to do so? So like I see the external things that I think are impacting my happiness. I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I should like just start journaling and just writing all my thoughts down on that. Is that something that you would think would be a good idea?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Then you can get more clear. Writing is good because you put your thoughts into form. And then from there, though, you need to do the next step, which is letting it go. So once you see it, you're like, okay, this is what it is. This is bothering me. Now fix those things. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, now it's done. I've written it down. But just the next step is, okay, one by one, how can I resolve this? And then if it's not resolvable, how can I find peace with this no matter what, or forgive this situation or whatever the thing, so that I can move on with my life and be happy without dealing with this recurring feeling of dissatisfaction or unhappiness based on this external factor that I can't control. So a lot of times I feel it's acceptance. There's two words, three words: acceptance, tolerance, and compassion. So acceptance is literally like when you know that things are as they are and you can't change them. So that's acceptance. Tolerance is recognizing that people are as they are and you can't change them. And then compassion is recognizing that we all suffer. And so if somebody is going through something and it's negatively affecting you, you could look at that with compassion and see, this person must be suffering to go through that, instead of feeling like they are doing something to you. Instead, you can see them as like a hurting child. Even if they're an adult, you see that inner child in them that's hurting, that's lashing out, that's screaming and crying or punching, whatever. And you just see that inner child aspect instead of the adult expression of it. And then from there, it's a lot easier to, you know, to allow, to forgive and to have tolerance and acceptance when you see it from that side. But if you see somebody that's like, you know, they're just mean all the time, you're like, God, this person's just a mean person. You know, it's hard to understand that adult expression of it. So going deeper into it and seeing the inner child that's hurting and them lashing out through this way that they're doing it, I feel like that's one of the easiest ways to get to a better place about people or things that are happening around you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, I like that a lot. I wrote all that down.
Oh, good. Oh, cool. Yeah, I feel like it's the key to life. You know, big part of life is all interacting with other people, right? So we're always like interacting with people, and this is like our major learning of life is relationships, whether it's an intimate relationship, it's a family relationship, it's a work relationship, it's a friend dynamic, or strangers on the street, right? Everything is teaching us. And if we can see life like that, from like this sociological perspective where everything's our teacher and it's showing up for a reason and we're getting this message, then we're going to, you know, have a lot easier life. But if we're looking at it like, why is this happening to me? And like all this kind of like victim mindset, then it's a lot less happy journey, first of all. But secondly, it's not as easy to live like that, you know, because it feels very powerless. Whereas the other way that I just mentioned, it's like taking your power back, recognizing nobody outside of me is going to affect me. That's me taking my power back and me saying, I will not allow that behavior in my life. So that's putting up the boundaries and saying, yeah, you know, I love you, and I still am going to walk away from this because this behavior is not good for my life, not good for my energy, and not good for my heart, whatever, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I really relate to seeing things as opportunity, even if like you're going through like a shitty situation. Like I like to view it like this is some sort of opportunity. I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to get something from this. And it always makes it a little bit easier to bear.
Yeah, that's cool.
So just one question that we ask all our guests. If you had one message that you could share with everybody in the world, what would it be?
I feel like my life mission and purpose is to spread this energy, which is what I call like oneness consciousness, flow state. A lot of this is the same, but to me it's this energy of that we are all interconnected, part of the grand scheme of the universe. We are unique expressions of the source of life, and our journey here is to learn how to love each other and to live in harmony as one human family. And that's what I feel like we're here for. And to contribute. The other part is and to contribute to the betterment of the world in some way, whatever way. Everybody has a unique purpose, but we all have a powerful reason for being here.
Awesome. So for people listening in, where can they find you?
You know, I have two websites. I have a yoga school. I certify yoga teachers and energy healers, and you can do an online yoga teacher training with me and I have other teachers that work with me. And so we have an online teacher training. We also have a program in Bali every year. So hopefully when we can travel again, we're going to be back in Bali in January is the plan. And
I want to go, Kyle.
it's the best.
I want to go.
We're gonna be at this place called the Mansion, and it's in Ubud, and it's such a beautiful place.
I love Ubud.
Yeah, it's so good. So we're gonna be there for a month. The plan is January, but we're just waiting because Bali kind of is like back and forth on their tourism. But anyway, the plan is January in Bali. But we also have an online teacher training for anybody who wants to become a yoga teacher, meditation, breath work, all the good stuff, energy healer, certified by Yoga Alliance International. We can do it online for now, and then if they want to come to Bali, it's also there. So that's on my website at pranashama.com, pranashama.com. And I also have my other website, dashama.com, dashama.com. And I have a free gift for everybody who would like to try yoga. I have a 7-day free self-love and yoga challenge, and it's at dashama.org/love. So you can get 7 free videos to practice with me, meditations, breathwork, yoga, mantras, different practices to help get into flow state. And if anybody wants to get a free chapter of my book, the book's not released yet, but it's the book is called The Flow State, and the chapter I'm giving away is called The Universal Law of Intention. And it's a powerful chapter. Everybody who's read it has told me they love it. Anyway, you can get a free chapter at theflowstate.co. So not .com, but .co, theflowstate.co, and you can get your free chapter of the Flow State book.
Awesome. What was the dashama.org/self love? Was that right?
No, it's just love. Just love.
Oh,
not
just love.
self-love.
Okay.
Just love, yeah. And it's a 7-day free challenge of different videos to, transform your life, open your heart, feel better inside, move more towards happiness and this higher vibration.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun to be on here with you guys. Hopefully do the free hugs, and if you ever want to do one in the COVID, I'll be open to that.
And Bali. I want to go back to Bali. I went to Bali like 2 years ago. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, Bali's the best. Come to Bali. I mean, yeah, you guys should come. I mean, it's the life-changing best thing ever. So
Yeah, I did a float tanks in Bali as well, and did cacao ceremony, and I did acro yoga. It was amazing.
so cool. Amazing.
Okay, go ahead and give us a 7-star out of 5 if you can, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, have a beautiful day. Namaste.